Hey, welcome to another episode of Mortgage Therapy with Chris Sorensen. I'm your host, and Ryan and I were joking about my intro. I need therapy, so I actually host this, so I get it while I'm actually giving it, I suppose. But Ryan, I'm so pumped to have you on this call. You're somebody that I always call it my young Jedi, and somebody that I asked permission if I could tell you one time, hey, is it okay that I say that I'm proud of you, right? Because it's nice to see somebody who I've watched grow and, you were good when you got here, but you keep getting better. And I take no credit. I mean, I suppose in some small way, I'm here to support you. But man, you are self-disciplined. You're a husband. You're a father. You're a leader. You're consistent. And you lead by example. And so I wanted people to get a chance to know you. And I've had you do this before on some of our internal calls, but this is going to go external as well as internal. You never know who's going to see this. And so I just wanted people to get to know a little bit about you. So maybe I could start on a personal level. Tell us about yourself and what you want people to know about you on a personal basis.
Sure. Thank you. So I'm a Pisces. I like long walks on the beach. Yeah, I probably don't need to go back that far. But I have been in the business for 26 years, and honestly, when I got into this business, it wasn't because I had a passion for mortgage. I think we all hear and talk about the fact that none of us chose mortgage as a career. We all fell into it, and then we just got stuck in and can't find our way out.
Right.
But that's kind of the same thing that happened for me is I decided I didn't want to valet cars anymore and bartend and model and act and all those types of things. And so 26 years ago, my buddies are like, dude, you're good with people. You should get in the mortgage business. You can make 10 grand a month. And I was like, what? 10 grand a month? This is great.
Yeah.
And so I got in the business 26 years ago and not really knowing that if it was going to be my passion and what I wanted to do, it literally took me about 13 years in the business to finally realize that this is just something that I absolutely love doing. I know it can sound cliche to say I love helping people, but that really truly is where my passion's at, where my heart is to serve. And there's, just like all of us, there's no better feeling that we get when we get to be the hero, when we get to make positive, lasting, impactful changes in people's lives. Like that is, I mean, there's the money is in it for me. Money's great, but for me, it's all about that feeling that we get when we help serve people. And then I have them come back to me 5 years later and be like, dude, thank you so much for your advice, all the things. Our family's thriving, we're thriving. So from, you know, that level, that's really where I found my passion. And from a personal note, I'm a loving husband and father of 8-year-old, my beautiful daughter, Ray Ray. And, God gives you what you can handle. We couldn't handle anyone less than just a perfect angel, and she pretty much is that. And so my career has allowed me to just blossom in other areas personally and also be able to do the things that I love when I'm not slanging loans 24/7. But yeah, overall, it's been a very fruitful career. And as you mentioned, Chris, it just continues to grow.
Yeah. It's funny when I first met you, I'm like, man, this guy is, sorry, handsome, young man, professional, polished. And it's easy in our cynical world to view somebody like that as, well, that's an act, right? I know it's not.
Mhm.
I know that, Tim Braheem has been very instrumental. Loan Atlas, if people don't know Tim Braheem, check him out. The guy's phenomenal, right? But he's what a leader. But he pulled out of you some life-changing emotions that allowed you to translate that into a more successful career. And,
Mhm.
again, this is mortgage therapy, and you've shared with me before that you're open to sharing, kind of what you went through. But I do think it's important because I want people, whoever watches this, I want them to know that share with us, like the experience you had with Tim Braheem and why you've created this assembly line and this perfect loan process and why it was so important for you to have D in this example, somebody out
Mhm.
there selling you instead of you selling you. I know that's a
Mhm.
lot, but
Sure.
we've done this before, so hopefully you understand where I'm going with this.
100%. Yep. So talking about that cynicism, and it also reminds me of that little meme where you've got the duck, right? That just beautiful duck right above the water, and then you're kind of paddling crazy underneath type of a thing. Well, that's really been the story of my life, because I haven't asked the question, but I would assume that the vast majority of people, whenever they encounter me, they come up with a completely different story of who they think I am and what they think I've gone through. And they probably think my life is perfect. Well, shit. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can cuss here, but heck,
You can.
yeah, my life is far from perfect. I grew up in an abusive household. I was abused by my dad, and for years, spent as my mom was trying to get custody to kind of show how perhaps unfit she was. I spent 2 years in foster homes as she was trying to fight to get custody of us. I was kidnapped at a young age, and whisked off to another state for a period of time. And so my entire upbringing was chaos, which interestingly enough, probably serves me very well in the mortgage business. Because when I say I thrive in chaos, it really truly is the case. Like, my blood pressure drops when stuff gets crazy because I'm just used to it. So I take everything that happened to me as a gift. I never looked at it once as I'm a victim, woe is me, poor me, anything. I'm like, to me, I just thought I was a bad kid, to be honest with you. I didn't think that anything was done wrong until I was older and realized, crap, I was done wrong. But I never took it and never used it as a crutch. And so use it really more to become my superpower. But what it did, unfortunately, or challengingly, was it created this thick wall of ego around me. And I always thought that ego was more of like, that arrogant dude that pulling up in his Ferrari and look at me, look at me. I didn't realize that ego is a protective mechanism. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but was this shield around me that protected me from getting hurt. But what it also did was it suppressed my gifts, and it made it really difficult for me to go out and show people who I really was. So I tried to be someone who I wasn't for so many years. So no matter what people thought of me and perceived of me, I would, on the inside, I was just paddling like crazy to figure out who in the hell I was.
Yeah.
And it was finally when I embarked on a coaching journey with Tim, where he really brought it all out, man. Not only did he bring out the best of me, but brought out all the tears. Like, I don't know if I could ever cry again in my life, because I cried for like 7 days straight. And realizing that there was this valuable human being that could bring so many gifts to the world. And I was literally hiding it inside because I was afraid. I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid of being told no. I was afraid that people wouldn't like me. And honestly, eh, the only thing I've ever wanted to be in life is loved. That's it. And when I felt people might reject me for any reason, I just felt that it was because they wouldn't love me. And so therefore, I didn't go out and share my gifts with the world. Well, finally, in going through this metamorphosis and evolution, I finally realized that the greatest gifts are in here in my heart. And when I was able to get through that wall of ego and break through, oh my gosh, my entire business transformed. The manner in which I create relationships, the manner in which I've built my business, and also the manner of which I've been able to be really self-aware and understand that there's just certain things that I'm not good at. And the quicker I can put somebody in a position to help me shore up my weaknesses, the better I'll be as a human, as a career professional in the mortgage industry and whatnot. And so, Chris, to your point, one of those things that I did is I realized when I took stock and I looked at my business and I realized I'm not great at opening doors and like cold outreach or anything like that. Like, I literally cower inside. I'm afraid that somebody's going to tell me no, or basically say, no, Ryan, I don't love you. And I don't want to do it. I do all the busy work. I do everything around it. I'll store and stack files and do everything else. And I wouldn't go out there to try to ask for the business because I was afraid that they would tell me no, which no to me means I don't love you. And so in realizing this, I had a choice: continue to try to push the boulder up the hill and do something that I'm just clearly not wired for, or maybe I hired my weakness. And so I did that in 2024. And Chris, with your blessing, because again, 2024 was the worst year of my career. I think I closed like 24, 25 million in production. It was rough. My P&L was in the red. Chris and team never hesitated to let me know that every single month, like clockwork. And during in that space, I realized I had to hire somebody to be able to get me out there, drag me to events, get me into networking rooms that I didn't want to be in, so that I could become more comfortably uncomfortable with what we had to do to grow. So thank goodness that I had PRMG on my side. I went to Chris and I said, I need to hire this person. Chris was like, how in the hell are you going to hire him? You have no money. And I was like, I'll take a pay cut. And so I did. Took the pay cut. He blessed the hire. We brought D on board, who is my business development specialist. And here's what happened. 2024, we closed 25 million in production. Last year, we closed 45 million in production. And this year, we're on pace for 65 million in production, almost tripling our volume in a couple of years. And it was because I finally got out of my own way. I realized what I needed to thrive. I made the sacrifice. I hired to it. And here we are.
So powerful. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling loans, whether you're selling real estate or widgets. What you just described is so relatable to so many people in our space because, I always talk extensively about Pareto, the Italian mathematician and philosopher. And many of us know his writings back in 1904 as the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. But in our business, it's probably closer to 90-10, where 10% of the people in both real estate and lending do 90% of the production. But let's say you lop off the bottom 25% who maybe don't even know that they're in business. There's still a good chunk of people out there that would like to succeed, and they're bouncing along the bottom and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. You were never bouncing along the bottom. For you, the bottom was still being in the top 10%. But is there something that any pearls of wisdom you would or advice you would give to that real estate agent or that loan officer who may be watching this? Just that one person who's sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're like, "Man, I've got to do something." They can't afford to go to wherever you went, Costa Rica, and they can't spend the kind of money you spent to invest in yourself. But they need change. What advice would you give to somebody like that?
So I would say, first, you got to ask yourself the hard question of how bad do you want it? Because if you're where you're at and you're stuck where you're at and things aren't changing and you consistently define insanity every single day by trying to do the same thing over and over, then the first question is how bad do you want it? Do you want it more than breathing oxygen, right? Like, do you want it bad enough? Because if you don't want it bad enough, it doesn't matter what bright, shiny object or what coaching program or whatever it is. You don't want it bad enough. You're just not going to do it, so just chalk it up to where you're just going to continue to define average. So you have to answer that question first. And if you want it bad enough, then what are you willing to do to get what it is that you need? And granted, yes, I invested a ton of money into coaching and I took pay cuts and things like that, but all those things didn't necessarily have to happen. I could have certainly done it in a lot less expensive fashion to be able to get where I needed to go. But ultimately, I decided that I needed it. And they were the certain things that I needed to be able to succeed and go the direction I wanted to go. So I was willing to make the pay cut. I was willing to make that financial sacrifice to do what I had to do. So I think that's really what the most important things, because today, for example, I spent tens of thousands of dollars to join Tim's coaching group, but now they have the loan atlas, right? And the loan atlas is like a whopping, I don't know, $250 a month. And every single one of my coaching members is faculty on the loan atlas. So you can literally get for like $250 a month what cost me thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands, but frankly,
yeah, tens of thousands, right? But
Yeah.
so how bad do you want it? Like, are you willing to sacrifice even $250 a month? And are you willing to get in there every single day and immerse yourself in the learning and the training and getting everything in front of you that you need to, and then make the changes you have to make? Also, self-awareness is key. Like, do you know yourself? Do you know what you're really, really good at? Do you know where your zone of genius is? And do you know the things that you're doing on a daily basis that just bring you down and give you a very low return on energy as much as ROI? You need to identify those as well. And you need to replace yourself in those certain circumstances so that you can continue to do what lights you up and where you thrive. So, self awareness, how bad do you want it? How much are you willing to invest so that you can get off this hamster wheel and you can create a different life for yourself and your family?
So well said. And I want to kind of underscore a couple of points you've made because I remember that time when I was flat broke right in the business back in 80, late 87, early 88.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was that person who said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I'm a big believer in play to your strengths, hire your weaknesses. But I also knew that I couldn't hire my weaknesses because I mean, if you don't have no business, your cut and pay doesn't do anything if you don't have any business.
Right.
And so people like you and I did and do have to wear multiple hats and break out of our comfort zone, become comfortable with the uncomfortable, at least until you have enough momentum, enough inertia that you can in fact hire somebody and somebody will believe in you because you've created that passion and people flock to strength. So if they see somebody who's got that inner strength and to your point, fully committed to their goal, then you'll be able to attract others who will believe in your vision and say, I'm going to help this person.
Mhm.
And now, because you've got that inertia, you've got the momentum, you've got that financial money's coming in, you can afford to share to hire those right people because you've created an assembling line. You wanted to create the perfect loan process, right? And even before you went to Tim Braheem, that was something that you discussed when you first came on board with us. How many? What is
Mhm.
that? 7 years ago now? How many
7 years
years?
ago, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, 7 years ago. And that was something in the interview. It was like, hey, I need to be able to make sure that I do all the work up front. I wanted to reach across the table and give you a hug. It's like, thank God somebody wants to actually work up front instead of waiting till the third week of a 4-week escrow to say, oh shit, I've got a problem. So
Yeah.
yeah, your borrowers and agents are lucky because you have the knowledge now. You'll take in a client and you'll literally determine within moments what they need to do. You get
Mhm.
everything up front, or your team does anyway, and you've got these people approved and like ready to close within a matter of like a week.
Mhm.
Talk about that. Talk about your assembly
Yeah.
line.
So the reason why that's so important, and interestingly enough, as important as it is, frankly, I believe it's only 10% of the value we provide, which is crazy, right? But the one of the things that we did, and I won't take full credit for it, a company we work with years and years ago, got really kind of helped us reframe our brain around it. But the truth of the matter was going out and we sell widgets. Let's face it, right? There's thousands of banks and lenders and credit unions, and everybody's offering the same widget, and everybody's trying to beat each other on price. And frankly, I didn't want to feel like a mortgage prostitute, right? Like I didn't want to just be like all about the money, and I get cut out by Loan Monkey because
Right.
they're offering an eighth of a percent lower, and having people, and I had people tell me, hey, but you're a really nice guy and I like you so much. And I remember years and years ago having like this inner rage come out where I got off the phone and they're like, you're so nice. And I'd love to, be friends with you and all this stuff, but I'm leaving you for Loan Monkey. And I get off the phone and I just, I'm not a fucking nice guy. Right. And I realized that if I didn't differentiate myself, if I was going to continue to sell the same widgets, then I was just going to go back and become a foot model on OnlyFans or something like that. Um, so I realized right away, I'm like, I got to be different. I got to be different. I got to be better. And it was an easy question. It was going to the real estate agents and saying, hey, what don't you like about lenders? They don't communicate. They don't close on time. Right. Like those are the two biggest complaints that realtors have had going back to the
Always.
dawn of realtors.
Yep.
Right. So I was like, okay, well, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? Well, underwrite everything up front, involve a process that we can close any transaction in as little as 8 business days, start to finish, which means that we're never going to outrun or get behind a 30-day escrow. If we can literally close in a week, we're always going to be closing ahead of time. But also, too, is if communication's an issue, well, how much do you need to communicate in a week? Not much. Let me guess. I'll tell you the math. You need to communicate one fourth or only one fourth versus the amount of time you need to communicate on a 30-day escrow. Okay, cool. Let's cut down the communication by 75% by closing every deal in a week. Perfect. So we solved that
That's a
problem.
brilliant, I got to stop for a second. That's a
Yeah.
brilliant, sorry, but that's a brilliant analogy. If you want to, if you feel like you're having to hold people's hands and communicate over and over again, close the damn loan more quickly.
Close faster. Yeah. Problem solved, right? There's only so much you can do in a week. So we solved that, which was really great, and we've become really good at it. We've been doing this upfront underwriting and closing in as little as 8 business days for 13 years now.
Mhm.
And it's brought us business. It's allows us to rescue opportunities. So we've really been able to fortify our reputation by doing it better, faster, stronger than anybody else. But here's the thing I realized, and this
Mhm.
was a hard one for me, is that I
Okay.
thought that because of the fact that we were going to close every loan in 8 days, like I could show you countless texts and emails and everything else from realtors, from borrowers, from listing agents saying it's because of your financing that this offer got accepted. It's because of your financing that we gave the buyer $14,000 in credit. And the buyers would be like, I never could have done it without you. So I assumed that every one of our clients was going to get BuyerPower by PRMG tattooed on their butt cheek. And then I was in for a rude awakening when 6 months later they had their credit pulled by another lender to cheat on
Right.
us for a refi. And I was heartbroken. My heart's on my sleeve, man. And when that happens, I'm like, what in the hell did we do wrong? Like I thought that we were homies for life.
Right.
What happened? Well, the problem is that when you condense a transaction to 8 business days, it's chaos, right? I mean, it's controlled chaos. And granted, and we don't make it appear to be chaos, but these poor buyers, they got home inspections and appraisals that got to get done, and they got to get their EMD wired, and they got to get their money and everything else in and all that. By the time the transaction's done, they're frothed up in a sweat and they just want their keys. And I didn't, and my stupid ego thought that, we would just fund every loan quickly and everybody would want to do business with us. And then we lose realtors, we lose clients. So when I finally came to the conclusion of when it comes to our perfect loan process is that our clients and our partners may never remember the amount of effort we had to put in to get shit done, but they will never forget how we made them feel. And so, one of the many things we've layered onto our process is a gifting process. So, we gift our clients 4 times before, during, and after the process. So, we get them fully approved up front. We send them a nice gift in the mail, a calming kit that has an automatic millionaire book. It has a aromatherapy candle. It has one of those creepy head scratchers and a nice little thing of some Advil with a note that says the hardest part is out of the way. Aromatherapy, whatever, take some Advil and get ready and buckle up for the greatest ride of your life. We won't forget about you.
Love it.
But then when our closing disclosure goes out, we send them reusable moving bags in the mail with another little note saying that you're almost home. We are so grateful to embark on this journey with you. You're about ready to get your keys. Then at closing, they get a nice, very quality charcuterie cutting board with another note from us. Congratulations. It's time to start the party. Um, Again, never forget about you. And then 3 months after closing, they get a watercolor image of their home from us in the mail with another little note that says, if you haven't figured it out by now, we will never forget about you. I have never received more text messages and phone calls and emails from clients with pictures of their kids playing inside the bags and everything else saying, wow, we thought this was a mortgage, not a trip to the Four Seasons. And so that's what we're trying to create is an experience that is not just remarkable, but referable, because that's what everybody wants.
Damn. That was a mic drop moment. And it reminds me of a quote. There's 2 quotes in there that you reminded me of. Number 1, Teddy Roosevelt said, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. And the other one is from Walt Disney, where he said, people will spend money when and where you make them feel good. And
Mm-hmm.
so you epitomize both of those quotes and what you just stated there. That was so powerful. Um, what, if, what parting thoughts do you have? Where are you going? We talked about where you came from. We talked about where
Sure.
you are currently. Where are you going, my friend? What's next?
I mean, I'd like to be going to Tahiti, but I'm still stuck in my office right now slanging loans. So as far as where we're going, one of the things that my team and I are really in tune with is personality and psychological assessments. My team is worn out from every single assessment. I have them take a new one every year. I'm like, oh, this is a cool one. Let's take it. Because I want to know what makes us tick. I want to know what works for each individual, us and our team. And so, one of the really cool ones that we've taken as a group is the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment, where it takes your 34 strengths, but it gives you your top five. Well, my number one strength is ideation, which means that I come up with an idea a second. So with our business, what we did yesterday is no longer good enough. And the team probably wants to kill me for it because I'll get up and I'll look at everything and I'll say, it's not good enough anymore. When we went from sending out, BuyerPower approval letters by PRMG, we sent out a letter in a PDF document. I'm like, that's not good enough. That's what everyone else is doing. So now we created an entire landing page where that landing page has a video about our same as cash financing and real estate projections and all of these things. And then we send it to a listing agent and they're like, holy crap, this is a lot different than what I've expected. So I constantly want us to be different and better. So where we're going, I don't exactly know, but I can tell you this wholeheartedly that what we're doing today won't be good enough. And we're going to find ways to improve and streamline utilizing AI, a ton of it, so that we can continue to get better, faster, stronger, and always be the pioneer when it comes to the best of the best experience we can create for our partners and for our clients.
I've got a few minutes left here, and you made me think of something when you were saying that. And again, I'm always picturing my audience, and again, that loan officer who's listening, going, they're on the edge of their seat, going, "Man, this is great stuff." Um, if well, now I just lost my train of thought here. Damn it! I'm having one of those Chris Sorensen senior moments.
Little sunsetters.
Yeah, yeah, right. So, but you said something about oh, that's what it was. So you have created this team and you've made it rightfully because you are the value proposition to a realtor referral partner and a borrower, combined with your team, of course. So notwithstanding that, why I know why, but the audience, why have you chosen, and I think probably for good reason, why have you chosen not to go out and try to hire loan officers,
Mhm.
but instead focused on just branding, Ryan McDonnell and the power buyer process,
Mhm.
without going and getting other loan officers and just expanding your operation that way versus trying to recruit?
Mhm. So some days I question that, Chris. Am I doing the right thing? And where I believe and wholeheartedly that I am is because number one, it's in my heart,
Okay.
that this is the direction that I've chosen that I want to go. But ultimately, I actually went years and years ago. I went and went and saw, oh gosh, Carl White. Went and saw Carl and years ago, and as he was recruiting for Mortgage Marketing Animals, and I go to an event in Tennessee, and during that event, he's telling me about kind of his business structure. First thing he does to get us all wowed is he shows us his W-2, right? And this was back in 2018. His W-2 is $4 million. And I'm like, okay, well, everybody's clearly paying attention. Then he went and told me about how many loans he closed. And of course, me being the reverse engineer analyst, I went in and did the numbers and I was like, dude, Carl's only making 30 bips per loan. But he's got all these inside sales agents that he pays a salary to do exactly what he wants them to do to preserve his brand and his reputation. And at that moment, I was like, I want to do that. Because in 2016, I did babysit adult children known as loan officers. And it sucked because we were at a different company. Everyone's complaining about rates. And I created this ecosystem with buyer power upfront, same as cash financing, even an entire website that you could do a bi-directional proposal with a client where you could literally just hit a space bar, read a script, and it would animate in front of the client, and it would totally close the deal with like a 99% success rate. I gave them the keys to the kingdom. They didn't even freaking log in. They just
Right.
kept complaining about rates. And at that point, I said, screw it. I go, if they don't want it as bad as I want it for them, then I don't want to work with them. And so I made that decision at that point. And I'm sticking to my guns, even though I question myself once every 7 days. Is that I'm just going to hire inside sales agents that are going to do it exactly the way I want them to do it, the way I script it, the way that I'm going to teach them. It'll all be those requirements. So I have that captive environment. So no one is going to jeopardize our reputation. And then as soon as I continue to bring on these inside sales agents, that's going to free me up to be able to do less in the business, work on the business side by side with D, and just literally cram that funnel full of referral opportunities and then have it go to each one of the ISAs and have them just do it the BuyerPower way.
Well, my young Jedi, I love what you have to share, and I love you and your beautiful wife and your daughter. You guys are just a great family. Um, I think that I personally believe you're on the right path. You know, I've done both. I've run an adult daycare center. I mean, to a certain degree, as the national director, I still do that, right? Uh, but
Your
there's people
Leering
like
Center?
yeah, exactly. But there's people like yourself that make it all worthwhile because you get it, right? This is look at I always say this is a tough business and thank God for it, or there'd be no money in it, right? It'd be overly commoditized.
Yeah.
But the only thing I've heard you share that maybe you're working on, my hope and prayer for you is that, you know, right now your business is for the most part hyper local, right? People want to touch you and see you and they love you have passionate referral partners with your real estate agents. But with today's technology, with AI, and with your presence on video and online, is pushing yourself out there more and more, so that somebody, as I would like to joke, somebody in Paducah, Kentucky, can feel that passion that you share and want to do business with you, regardless of what state you happen to be in, because that's superfluous, isn't it? Your system
Mhm.
is a system, regardless of whether they get to shake your hand in person or just happen to see you online. But, that would be my
100%.
hope for you because I think you can expand your business dramatically over the coming years.
Mhm. I agree with you. And then frankly, Chris, it's the numbers, certainly they matter. Um, the higher the number, the easier it is for me to get you guys to say yes to any of my cockamamie schemes.
True.
Um, but notice I've never talked about numbers, right? Like, I mean, I guess where I've come from, yes, that's great. And yeah, our sights are set on maybe next year hitting 100 million. But to me, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? It's about the process. Like, I'll be more excited when I have truly a perfect loan process that the assembly line is firing on all cylinders and every single one of my team members can do it with ease and take as much time off as corporate will allow them to take. Like, that to me is more meaningful than whatever the outcome of the numbers are, because I already know the numbers are going to be the numbers, and the numbers are going to be spectacular, as long as we are creating that perfect ecosystem where everyone can thrive.
That's a mic drop right there. So, folks, listen, this has been Mortgage Therapy with Chris Sorensen and my special guest, Ryan McDonnell, area manager and leader for our company and beyond. This guy's a great guy. And yeah, look him up, connect with him, and do business with him. You'd be blessed to do so. In the meantime, until next time we have our therapy session together, do as I always have taught myself to do, which is serve for success. The more you serve, in my humble opinion, I think your creator will give you more opportunities if you do it with the best of intentions. With that, cheers. God bless. We'll talk to you guys soon.